And now for something completely different. It is Saturday, January 14th. I am going out again, although not for wildlife specifically. I'm going to try something different. It's all packed up right now, but I'm bringing 2 cameras. I dusted off, not really because I keep them in a case, but metaphorically dusted off the Canon 5D Mark II and am taking that with a macro lens. The thought I have going into it is that I'm going to look more at the nature and the landscape and things like that and see what it looks like and play around maybe with lighting, color, who knows. Something along those lines. But I want to do like a picture of a wider view and then a little bit closer and then a macro. And so I've got the Sony for the wider and I've got a zoom lens and the whole thing. We'll see what it is. I need an excuse to get out. Took last weekend off, got my car back, which was fun. Here's a little quick story about that because I'm waiting for the car to defrost. Thick layer of ice over the entire car today. I did not think about or realize or had any notion that... Tell the story. First day back after the new year, we're down to 1 car, right? If you've the past few videos talked about that. For the time being, we're now fixed. I've got my car back, but she goes to leave for work in the morning, and it had snowed. We got overnight snow, a good bit of it, and I thought, I'll run out real quick. Not a big deal. I'll clear the car for her. Make it easier. One less thing to worry about. And I'm clearing the car, and she comes out, she gets in the car, we're waiting, trying to defrost, and I've cleared off all the snow, and I'm just mostly getting the ice and things like that. I'm just using the brush. I'm not even scraping. And I moved down, and I hit the windshield wiper, and it breaks at the metal connector. The metal snapped because it was so cold. I wasn't like ramming on it with the scraper or anything. I was just using the brush, just getting it off to help kind of clear it a little bit faster, brush off the excess as it melts. And it broke. And here's the thing, if it starts to snow again, you really need windshield wipers. So that was a problem. Had to, thankfully there was no snow in the morning, and then as soon as a break, she got the car, run out and buy a new windshield wiper. But yeah, that was a fun little start to, didn't think about that. Never considered that if it was going to break, I've had windshield wipers that I've used to the point where the rubber comes off, and so it's just kind of streaking behind it. But I've never had the actual metal connector where it connects to the rod that's coming out of my car snap because it's so cold. It was well below 0 that morning. So that's something fun. Anyway, I'm going to get out. I'm going to go walk around in a forest and look at the nature and see what I can see. Gotta let the car defrost though. See, it's awfully noisy. Recording. Okay, just like that, I have arrived. I was here last month just to get out and went walking through the snow, but it was so cold that I did not stay. Today it is also very cold. What are you gonna do? I don't know if I mentioned it in the other one, but the forecast is full snow for the next 2 days. So Sunday, Monday, which are the days that I'm off. Figures. Today, I'm going to be using this lens that I got a while back because I went, I am interested in macro photography. And so I bought, hey, stay on there until I'm ready for you. Thank you. I bought this 180 millimeter by Tamron because it fits my Canon camera. What I've got today. So I'll put that on the tripod. I thought about bringing flashes. The only time I've really experimented with macro photography outside of indoors. Outside of indoors is proper. Yes, correct. The only time I've done it is for contract work for product photography. And then for, I think I went out once and I took some pictures of flowers. And at that point, I did bring a flash with me, and I used the little colored gel to be like, what if this flower that's yellow is actually red? I thought that was cool. I did not bring any of that today. I didn't really think about it. I thought about it as I was getting ready this morning, and I went, well, you know what? I got a couple of these little video lights. Just, come on, stay on. I use them sometimes when I'm setting up, especially at night, back in Wyoming, when I would get up real early and drive very far to get to places to see wildlife, which I don't do so much now. Anyway, I'm going to put that camera on the tripod, and then I got my shoulder sling that I'm going to put on the Sony camera. I want wide angle, and so adding something to it doesn't make it necessarily the widest. Wait, do I even have my... I do, okay. That's a tough one. So my choice is putting an adapter in order to get my Sony camera to fit my Canon lens, my 24-105. I do really like this lens. This is a great lens. I'd like to get that other one that they have that's another zoom that's even wider, but it's very expensive, and I don't use it that much. I can't really justify it. So I could do that, or I could just put the Sony on there. I guess I'm going to go with the Sony, because I've got more, like adding another thing. I think I can get better with the zoom. The zoom goes down to 28 millimeters. That's pretty wide. And that's full frame and everything. There won't be anything added on to that. I do have one that's a little bit wider that I'll bring with me. I will put into the bag. Put it right there in that bag. That's not it. That's what happens when you're just feeling around. Where's my other lens? There it is. I got this one by Samyang, who makes pretty decent stuff. I've enjoyed theirs as well. This one's an 18, and it's a 2.8. So if I need a lot of light, we're going to be partly clouded today. So yeah, I'm going to put this one on there. I'm going to take this one in my carry bag in case I need an even wider shot. I got batteries. I got clear memory cards, extra batteries for both. I got the lights. I've got that stuff. Go ahead and mount up this lens while we're still here in the car. Try not to expose too much to the elements. It should be fine, but I don't want... The last thing I want, because of how much snow, if there's moisture, it is fairly dry, but I would not want to go and open up the lens. Take the lens out, exposing the sensor on there to the moisture that then gets in there. It's also why I keep them whenever I'm not using them. They go in cases or bags or whatever with the silica packets to draw out the moisture. Yeah, I think that's all that I can do right here for now, because now I need to actually get out and put on my second layer of gloves and then my bag and my slings and my things like that. So time to hit the ground walking. Oops, bumped it on the windshield. Where's my microphone? My microphone needs to go on my back strap. We are recording. All right. I got all ready. Added a couple extra layers. Still got to put the gloves on, but it took me a minute to remember how this, not this strap, that strap's got the microphone, how this under strap works. Because I haven't used it in a while, and that's how I've got my camera hanging from me. And then the other camera. Somehow I hear dogs. A good bit of dogs. And I do not understand why, because it is not quite out in the middle of nowhere, but kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's strange. Maybe, there's not supposed to be anybody camping, and it's so early. But there is a headquarters for government. Maybe somebody brought their dog to work on a Saturday. Anyway, I'm going to start walking around and see what I can see. I decided within that same day, and I'll talk about it later in this video, that I think it works better if I do the specific photos that are the closer into macro and make that its own video. So here's what I got that was just some landscape and a little bit of me walking around. And the other part will be in a separate video that I'll put a link to in the description or something. we're gonna see if we can record. This thing is in the sun, so it's not the most ideal, but I don't really have anything that I could use to try to block that so it doesn't get as hot. I know it will get hot the longer it sits in the sun. That kind of blocks most of it, at least where the battery is. We'll see how that goes. And I have angled it so you can't see that. The only thing I have a question about is whether or not the lens is clear, because it fogged up while I was out there. Let's just give that a little clean. It's a cleaning noise. Okay, I need to adjust it again. I'm doing that to check and see because I've noticed that when it gets something closer, like the steering wheel, it will focus on that instead of on me. And now help block out a little bit of the sun so I'm not overexposed. All right, that was a walk through the forest in the winter in the mountains of Colorado on a Saturday morning, I guess. It was fun. It was nice. Very cold, but it warmed up towards the end. My face was frozen for a lot of it. But I think I got some interesting pictures. I put on a sling. Oh, that's... Hopefully that didn't mess up all of my pictures. I just noticed a big old smear across the lens, which would have been... Well, it's actually on the filter. I keep a filter on all of my lenses at all times so that I never am damaging. As I have done, I don't know if that's me breathing on it or if it's just fogged up. Anyway, yeah, having a filter on there has definitely helped. Oh, that's fog. Okay, so I gotta really clean this thing out when I get home. Very cold, also that bare metal on my fingers. Anyway, so I took pictures of the landscape with this and the zoom lens. I did not wind up using the super wide angle like I talked about before. I just didn't think about it while I was out there. And then all of the macro photos with this that you could hopefully see. The Canon lens with the Tamron. And I think that was interesting. It was definitely different from what I usually do, but I don't know where that popped into my head over the last week or so. Since the holiday break I took last week off for sure, I wanted a weekend to relax. And then this weekend I'm starting this weekend out right now by jumping into it. That'll be probably the only thing I do because it'll snow the rest of the weekend, but that's fine. I did a couple of things. Excuse me. Something different that I did was I have my audio recorder that I usually have on me. I just let it go pretty much the whole time. I paused at a few points because there are people who come and go, and they always, at the very least, there's a good morning. And sometimes people go, oh, what are you taking pictures of and all this? And I didn't want to deal with having to edit that out. But I think it'll be fine. That'll just go on Patreon. I sometimes do that. I've started that the last few months. I think it started with just the long drives, a portion of the long drive. I would just turn on the audio only and let it go and then just ramble about whatever. So I thought it would be different to do that while I'm walking around. I don't usually talk, so it's more whispery, and I don't know if the audio is going to come out at all. It's something that I don't like ASMR, so that'll be that'll be interesting. But I thought it was a good experiment. I wanted to try it. And yeah, pictures of the landscape, a lot of snow, a lot of trees through the forest. I did hear birds, so I think that'll be good. I'm very interested to see how I'm going to edit this together. I had thought about that, and I think that's where this came into it, was I wanted to edit one photo, and then it starts zooming in, and it cuts to the next photo that's a little bit closer, and it does that through the macro, and I kind of blend those together. During the editing process, my original idea didn't really pan out. Something about zooming on the photos where it takes it from that 4:3 format, because the video is still 16:9, so there's black bars. When you zoom in, you fill it up, and then I just really like the way that it cross dissolves better. I came up with something that I'm happy with, but it's not exactly what I'm talking about here. The last thing I edited a couple weeks ago, the last video, I actually saw a lot of birds and I did still photography, so I was putting up a lot of I was pushing and it was chugging in the editing. It was not happy about what I was doing, because what I was doing was I was taking my webcam footage and putting that with its template, like the Photoshop, the graphics, over to one side, and then putting photos and sometimes layering photos and sometimes putting text on top of that. It's a lot. It was asking an awful lot, and it was chugging. And so one of the last things I was thinking anyway, for December, I did a bunch of contract work and I had some money coming in from that. And I was like, all right, I think the next best thing that I can invest in both helps with the contract work. It's one of the first times that I've purchased something specifically with the money that comes in for the purpose of using for future stuff. I did a lot of videos last month, and videos are really hard to edit in 6K, 4K with what I currently have. So I bought an upgraded graphics card, something I talked about last time. I really like building computers. And because I bought that, then I spent the rest of the money on more upgrades for other computers, because it's a whole kind of tiered system where my editing computer, which is where I also play games, if I play a game on the PC, that will get passed down. That graphics card, or the pair of them, will get passed down to the computer that I work on, where I do some photo editing, and then one of the graphics card will go to another computer, which I admit won't make a whole lot of sense currently, because all of my stuff, if you've seen any of the videos from inside my little home, it's all in like a 6-foot radius. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put another computer there, but I am. And I'll use that specifically for gaming on the TV. Whenever I want to play a PC game, but put it on the TV, I've got to use that. So I'm building a computer for that. And this one will be much more aesthetic. I want to get creative. I've got a bunch of ideas. I'm really excited to build. I just really want to build a computer, and I'm really excited to build this as a different way. And then eventually we will move, and I will not be in the living room, essentially, where I play on the Xbox and watch TV and everything. There, I will be able to put a computer there, because I did that before in Wyoming. I ran from my editing computer, my gaming and editing computer. I bought like an extension 50-foot HDMI cable to run all the way upstairs, and then like a USB extension. And you have to get ones that are powered, that have like a specific hub in the middle of the cable to continue sending it, an active cable, I think they call it. So I could do that for USB, so I could put a mouse and keyboard up there, and then I would jump between monitors, basically. Not ideal, didn't really work out, and I don't really want to put that much time. The editing computer will only be mostly for editing at this point, thankfully, but they'll be able to do that, and I'll be able to hook it up with all the monitors and the color grading software that I have, and it frees up a spot, because I currently just use an extension for one of my... Anyway, it gets very technical, and I'm going to have a lot more detail on that next week if I make a video like I think I will, because all the final pieces, it is the 14th, and I ordered it on the 1st. I made up my mind, and I went, I've got the money. Not really. It was coming in on the next paycheck, but it was only a few days away. And I was looking at it, and I was checking prices, and even though it's not really the best possible time to buy a lot of that stuff, and so many things are so overpriced, but I was able to afford it all. And checking the price history, really what's overpriced is the graphics card, because you have to, from my understanding of it, you get far better results when you are trying to edit. There's a lot of processing power on NVIDIA's cards as opposed to like AMD, which is very technical. It goes into it, but NVIDIA is extremely overpriced. And they just get worse about it. So that's fun. But anyway, I made up my mind on that. I was like, I'll get it refurbished for a graphics card. It's the only way I can afford to get that, but I will, and it'll be good. I'm really excited about that. It's a huge upgrade, and it's just been taunting me. It was one of the first things that came in. It and the new power supply came in, because I have to get an upgraded power supply. Mine's not powerful enough. It came in that first week, and it's just been sitting there taunting me. I look at it from time to time. I take it out of the packaging and look it over, and, it's just been sitting there. So I finally will be able to do that. Everything should come in over the next week, and then next weekend, my full plan for the weekend is to just build computers, because I will be rebuilding 3 of them. The main one will be editing, which I have a whole idea and theme about what I want to do in the color scheme of that, because again, if I was spending the money and I was going to do it, I want to do it the way I want to and do it aesthetically nice and finally seal it up and cable manage everything, and I've got an idea for that. And then the work computer, I care a little bit less about, so I'm not going to worry too much about what that looks like, but I want to get that set up. I'm going to make the jump to Windows 11. I've been trying it out on my laptop the last 2 weeks to see how I like it, and it's fine. There's some changes, whatever. People get so uptight about that stuff, but there's only so much time left that they're going to support 10 anyway, so I figure I'll make the change to that, and I'll get used to that. On that one, I do not want to make that change on any of my my editing, like that editing computer. I don't know if it'll take a lot to upgrade that, because I only hear horror stories about people who are like, yeah, I updated and it broke all of my editing software, because that's not been made for the newest version or something like that. Now 11's been out long enough that it may, but I don't really want to take that chance anytime soon, because if that breaks, it's a major portion of what I'm doing. And I know that my work stuff mostly is done in browsers, so I can do that. Except for the software development, which has been coming along quite nicely. We've moved out of doing the training videos into actually hands-on stuff, and I'm enjoying that a lot more. But anyway, next weekend I will be building computers, and I'm quite excited about that. The last pieces should be in over the next week. Still waiting for a motherboard, because everything's been out of stock and on back order, but I was able to get one. I just changed which one I wanted. But it should still work just fine. It should do everything I want. I just have to wait for that to come in, hopefully Thursday or earlier. I think Thursday at the latest. And then I'll have everything I need, and I'll be able to build next weekend. That's exactly what I'm hoping to do. But anyway, my idea was, the point of all of that, talking about the computer stuff, was because the editing process really slowed down at Chugs. It gets real bad, and I've slacked off a lot. It's been a lot less of putting text on top of things or editing things a certain way, going through the entire process, because it just takes so much time and effort with the old graphics card. This new one should be much more powerful, so I may hold off on editing this stuff until next week, because I plan on layering those photos like I talked about and doing that whole thing, maybe adding commentary if I talk about it. I might not. I might just do the photos as their own thing and put them out as their own video, and then this is just talking, and then I'll put a link at the end to go see that one. I told you I came up with the idea while I was recording that day. Or in the description or whatever. But anyway, a good time out. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I got out, because I did not last weekend. I took it for myself. And it was different, but I'm glad I tried something new. I need to pack away all this camera stuff and go home and dry it all out, since I noticed that there specifically was condensation inside the filter on the lens. So yeah. I think that was everything I wanted to cover. That's why I did not get out. Next weekend I won't, but then the following weekend I probably will, and I'll go back to where I saw the birds 2 weeks ago, and I'll hopefully see more, and I'll get more photos and videos. That is my plan. Good stuff.